3, 2, 1.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Injector Mom Podcast. This is going to be episode 3. We are talking about our healthcare or health journey, whatever, getting to the healthiest version of ourselves for what we feel like good in our own skin. So that's today's episode.
None of this is medical advice.
God, no.
What we do doesn't work for everyone. Half the time it doesn't work for me. So
For me.
yeah, anything we say or anything we've done or anything we've taken or supplements or anything at all, this is not for
you to interpret.
Yeah, this is
take,
just for you to enjoy. It's not.
This is what worked for us. This is what we continue to do and will continue to do. Because obviously, well, first of all, a lot of it has to do with the fact, like, we're doing this because I had a lot of questions about my health journey. You guys visit me. A lot of my patients come in and ask, kind of notice that I've lost weight, and they're kind of asking, you know, how did you get where you are? Some of my patients are struggling with weight, and they've kind of asked me what I've done. I've given them a little bit of a lowdown on it, but today's going to be kind of my whole journey and Drew's whole journey from like the very beginning. So should I just start with like where I started from?
Yeah, I would go back to like even growing up and what like your fitness would have been like as a child, or not even fitness, but.
So when I was a lot younger, you guys know, we already talked about this in episode 1, where I have some health issues. I have a respiratory disease, cystic fibrosis. I didn't have diabetes. We'll talk about that later in life. And then I also have JRA, which is like juvenile arthritis. And I haven't had issues in my adulthood, but it was very, very prevalent in my early years. And I'll talk about when that kind of came to be as well. So growing up, I was a very skinny child, like with cystic fibrosis. A lot of the time you're coughing nonstop, which is obviously burning calories without even trying to burn calories. So a lot of the time I was not even working out and burning God only knows how many calories a day. So when I was that young, I was eating 3 to 6 meals a day. So trying to keep my caloric intake up to maybe 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day. And in between meals and even at meals, I was drinking Ensures. If you guys don't know what Ensure is, it's like an extra calorie supplement. Yeah, and some people use it as an actual meal replacement, but I was adding it to my meals so I could actually have the most calories intake possible because I was so skinny. So the skinniness was my whole childhood. I was very frail, and that was till I was about 15 or 16. And then at age 15, I started to notice, like, so I was a track runner at that time and I really enjoyed it. I was probably really healthy and not a ton of coughing, but enough coughing. And I was doing a lot of track. So I was really, really healthy, really in shape. And that's when I started to have knee issues. I would run like a track day, and then the next day I physically couldn't even walk. Like my knees were so swollen to the point where my dad would have to like pick me up, put me in the shower, put me in the hot tub, and like just try to get all the inflammation to go down so I could actually walk. High school was tough at that point too, because I was in and out of high school. Some days I couldn't walk. Sometimes I needed a wheelchair. Sometimes I needed crutches. It was very like day by day. But anyways, that was my weight. Around the same time, I was diagnosed with diabetes. Now, with a lot of people are used to hearing kind of type 1 or type 2 diabetes. With me, it's not the same. I was never really categorized into a type because the diabetes actually came from cystic fibrosis. So what happened was, from eating a ton of calories like that, my pancreas just could not keep up with like giving my body enough insulin to break down the sugars, the energy, and all that stuff. So my body just kind of gave up. The pancreas gave up. So yes, I did require insulin, but I was never really categorized as a type 1. So that kind of continued from age 16, and really bad knees kind of slowed down my health journey because I wasn't really working out a lot. I wasn't really like active after that because my legs were just so sore to the point where if I would have a really active day, the next day my knees would be the size of balloons. So I just avoided any sort of real physical activity, which with CF, you should be active every single day. And that's kind of how your lungs clear all the secretions and all the stuff that's kind of stuck in there. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But so that kind of continued up until I was about 30. I was really fit. I've always had a really fit body my whole entire life. Like I think around my 20s is when I met you, but I was really like, I probably had a 6-pack only because of coughing. If you think about using your core, you're coughing 24/7. So I was really fit. I never really had body issues. I know a lot of people deal with body issues in their teens because, you know, you see others that might be skinny or larger, more heavier, and you kind of compare yourself to that. But I never thought about that in my early years because I was always in shape. I was always very fit. And my parents never really said anything about it either. I know some families deal with parents who might push you to lose weight if you're heavier, or might push you to do other things. But my parents never really talked about my weight because they just wanted to make sure that I was healthy. So they fed me whatever I wanted, and I just was always fit. So that continued until I was about 30. And then I started to get really sick. And that was when, what was that? Like I started to get really unwell. And then we started the Trikafta.
Yep.
So I'll talk a little bit about the cystic fibrosis. When you have cystic fibrosis, you absorb a lot of sodium. Your body doesn't really, there's something called sodium channels in your body where they're supposed to be working properly, and your body absorbs enough sodium to keep your lungs wet and keep everywhere you need mucus wet in your body. So your cervix, your lungs, your pancreas, all those areas have enough mucus, but not an overproduction. So with cystic fibrosis is your body actually absorbs too much salt, and it actually dries out your airways. So you're constantly coughing, but it also causes a ton of sticky mucus. So where you guys are clearing your mucus, coughing it up, doing all that, mine's actually getting stuck in my lungs where I have problems breathing. Now with CF also is if you have constant thick mucus in your lungs, your body wants to clear it out. And that's the reason for the coughing. You cough so much, just like if you're really sick and your body obviously makes more mucus when you're sick, you're constantly coughing when you're sick. Well, I'm just coughing all the time because my body recognizes that there's fluid in there and it's trying to cough it up. So with the sodium chloride channels, they're not working properly with someone with CF. So for me, in around 30, 32 is when I was really, really ill. And I was at a point where like I could not do any activities. Like even at that point, my business was suffering because I was always sick. I was always in and out of the hospital. It was getting to a point where I think we talked about it in this first episode,
Right.
but I was on and off IV therapy every single month for 30 days, maybe 25 days, off for 5, and then back on for another 25 days. So it was really, really hectic.
And during, not to go off, but during those times, you would also lose a significant amount of weight.
Oh, that's what I want to talk
Because
about.
you weren't eating, you were coughing profusely. And if anyone has ever even just had a crazy cough that just won't go away for a week, I'm like, oh, please, Jesus, take me now.
Well,
Because
that's what
it's unbearable. Honestly, like your whole body is sore. Every cough you make, it's just like, oh. So I couldn't imagine living with it my whole life. But
I was going to talk about that after. So Drew got COVID in the beginning of COVID, and he was like the most sick I've ever seen him in my life, and with being with him. And then he was like going through the whole coughing phase. Like this is the worst I've ever seen him cough since I've been with him. And he's a very healthy guy. So I hadn't seen him like, the regular colds, flus, whatever, but COVID had hit him really hard. And he was like coughing to a point where he'd be laying down at night and just like this crazy cough would come out of him. And I felt like at that point in time is when it clicked for him what I had been going through, like the early stages of our relationship. And I could also see that like it was draining him, like the coughing constantly every single day. And he would be going to bed early, and just like it almost like a light bulb went on for him, like, holy shit, this is actually what you've been going through our whole relationship. And I feel like it was just an eye opener for you. Even with me, like I was still doing all the things that we're supposed to be doing. I was working, I was doing all the things. And I think I was just going through the motions of life because I'm not really the type of person that's going to like lay down and cry about it. It's like, nothing's going to change if I lay down and cry about it. So you might as well just get up and fucking go to work. Right. So that's kind of, but watching him go through that, I was like, and he was talking about how his like core muscles were always sore, and he was so like exhausted, and just like working was really, you took some time off then too, because you're really exhausted. Yeah. So at that moment in time, I felt like he really understood like what I'd been going through. So for me, where was I going with that?
I don't know, but it was a moment in time for me also where I was also someone growing up. I never took Tylenol, Advil, anything.
No.
Inhalers, like what's an inhaler? Are you kidding me? Like never knew anything
like,
about it.
Every day.
And then when I started doing that, and I had inhalers from the doctors and I still wouldn't take them, I'm like, oh, I don't need that, right? I was too prideful for it. So I just refused to take it. And then one day just decided, well, after being
I told you to take mine.
5 minutes, just freaking take this thing, take it. So I did it, and like 15 minutes later,
free,
oh my goodness, free.
And then you actually went to the doctor and got an inhaler because it was like you needed it badly. Yeah. No, that was good. I feel like, so what you were talking about is losing weight. So this is why I say like I never really dealt with weight issues. Even my friends, I would watch my friends be on different sides of the spectrum, some being really small, some being heavier, and kind of both complaining about their weight, and you know what I mean, things like that. And I never really had those issues. But also to go back to what Drew was talking about is when I was unwell, even trying to eat all those calories, again, I ate whatever I wanted. It wasn't like, oh, I should eat healthy. Like it wasn't vegetables, it wasn't proteins, it was
anything you wanted.
Anything I wanted, I could put in my body. Like I would wake up in the morning and have 2 McDonald's meals for my breakfast and nothing would happen. But I was definitely an unhealthy, unhealthy for the amount of calories I was intaking and what I was actually eating was unhealthy.
Yeah, internally, it was not healthy.
Yeah,
for sure.
But at the same time, it was the only way that I could survive and take that amount, like keep my weight on. Another thing too is a lot of people who are diagnosed with diabetes, the doctor will tell you like, now you have to clean up your diet and your sugars can't be high because obviously it's really bad for complications. But for me, my doctor was like, you still need to eat whatever you've been eating to keep your calories high and take enough insulin to support that amount of calories, which is not the way things are usually done. But if I would have changed my diet to match my insulin, I would be, again, really frail. So I had just had to do what I was doing. But when I was unwell, sometimes within 2 weeks, I would drop 25 pounds.
Yeah.
And it would be insane. And I'm still eating the same amount of calories I was last time. It's just I'm coughing more. I'm not doing as much activity. So it was insane.
Yeah. I think that's a good intro to this whole episode. But I think we can fast forward a little bit to what everyone is wanting to know and what's going on now with you. When did it start?
Yeah.
And what prompted changes?
Okay.
So we know that you mentioned Trikafta. You can, if you want to talk about what that is or why you got on it, you can do that. But I think when did the transition start from Trikafta to where you are today?
Yeah.
So
this is going to be a little bit of a longer episode because there's more to talk about.
If we have to, we can make 2 parts of it. But
yes. So with how I was talking about, I was always frail, whatever. I started a new medication and I was talking about the sodium channels for people with CF. I absorbed too much sodium. So the Trikafta, the new medication I got put on, I want to say it was December 2021, maybe.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. December 2021, I started a new drug. I was incredibly sick at that point. I think my lung function was like around 35%. Things were just not good. So my doctor got a new medication from the US called Trikafta. The Trikafta actually resets the sodium channel, to my understanding, and everything seems to be working normal. So, and within 6 months, I can tell you, like, this was life-changing for me. Like, I feel like my lungs were amazing. I was like living my life. But at that point in time, I was also, and my doctor warned me about it. She's like, you can no longer eat that 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day. You are now going to see a normal transition into what everyday people deal with when they're eating 5,000 to 6,000 calories. And I'll be honest with you, I felt so good that I did not give 2 shits at that time. I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to eat still whatever I want. My breathing was good. I was sleeping on my back for the first time in 30 years. Like it was insane. But and at that time,
hold on, sorry. And that sounds crazy. No one can really wrap their head around she's saying, well, I can lay on my back. No, to put in perspective, there was my side of the bed, which is 1 pillow, and then her side of the bed, which is 15 pillows sitting at a full incline. Like basically how I'm sitting right now. And
is what?
That's how she would sleep, catching flies, mouth wide open. But that went on forever and just coughing all night. It was such a crazy
transition.
So anyone who's only been around Carrie for the last handful of years, you've witnessed her at her best.
Yeah.
And there's been so much
the best I've ever been in my life.
Hurdles that you've had to overcome in the years prior. I wish everyone could be a fly on the wall back then just to see all that adversity, like all what you've pushed through, and it's incredible.
So within that time frame of taking the Trikafta, then I started to see the weight come on. And that's when I was like, even at that point, I was like, whatever, it's like 20 pounds. I don't care. I felt good. And at that point, everyone was commenting on my weight, like, oh my God, Carrie, you look so healthy. Everything, you look so good. I bet you're feeling good, etc.
Right.
So I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, oh, I gained 20 pounds, but then 20.
And hold on, and sorry, I keep cutting you off, but
yeah, it's okay.
Do you want to give any numbers out? Because I know numbers is a big deal for people.
Yes.
And this is not a comparison of what everyone should be or shouldn't be, but you don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah, no, I don't care. So I am 5'4", say 5'4", 5'3.5", whatever. And when I was ill, I was always kind of in the 120 to 125 range. And then as I started to become more healthy, I noticed like it was going up to 156, which even at that point I was like, I don't fucking care. 156 is nothing. But then I got to 170, 180, 190. And the heaviest I'd ever been in my life was in a 191. And again, that is not big for some people, depending on your stature. But for me at 5'4", 5'3", now don't forget, I also have knee issues. So I was starting to notice that my body weight for my height was starting to crush my legs. Like I would wake up in the morning and all my pains from my arthritis were coming back. And I hadn't had arthritis pain for probably 7 or 8 years, but now it was starting to come back to the point where my legs were sore, my joints were sore. I was so heavy. But then also body image issues. Like I was getting to a point where like I had never worn a full piece bathing suit since I met Drew. I was always in a bikini. I felt great. And then it was getting to a point where I was buying bathing suits that had like the frills on it so I could cover up my belly. It was at a point where I was like just really uncomfortable in my own body at the heaviest that I ever been. And I was just like, really at that point I started caring. And I think that's what prompted the change for him and I. I was just like, I didn't feel comfortable naked. I didn't feel comfortable in a bathing suit. I didn't swim around anyone but Drew. And even then I was like, I kind of want to wear a shirt over my bathing suit. I don't feel good.
And what sucks about that is like we have a pool. So
we
the
do.
fact that you don't even want to go in this or be in a bathing in our own backyard.
And like, I've never felt that in my life. So to start feeling that, it really fucks with your head. Like I was like, I didn't want my family over. I didn't want anyone seeing my body at work. Actually, as someone mentioned it last week, that they've never seen my true shape because I was always wearing a white coat, right? I was always wearing a white coat, and that was purposeful. I didn't want my belly showing. I always felt like from the side, my actual body stature is small, but where I gained most of it was my stomach.
So did you notice it? At what point did you start to look at yourself and see that? Because from my perspective, like we just grew together. So it wasn't like visible to me. I never sat back and was like, oh my God, moo, right?
Yeah. You know, even though we laughed about it.
No, but it was never, I just never saw it. But I think that's also in part that when you have someone who is now eating whatever they want,
I was healthier, which is huge,
right? But what made it very difficult is I was also gaining. I grew up, you know, athletic and a relatively athletic build, to then moo being exactly like the description.
We'll also talk about like even when we first had our kids, like I was still very thin. I was still very sick, but I'm eating like, guys, I'm telling you, like at night before bed, I would have like 4 mini pizzas, a bag of popcorn, 3 chocolate, like that's just for me.
Yeah.
And now I'm adding into that is what I'm eating, and I don't gain a pound from it. But Drew's also eating the same thing. And for a healthy individual, that's bound to make gain weight. Like,
oh yeah,
right?
Big time. Yeah, I think my heaviest, like right now, I'm probably
197, 194.
I'm 195 roughly. Yeah. But I know I was around 245.
Yeah.
And I'm about 5'9.5", 5'10", give or take. You know, if I'm on my tiptoes or not. But so that's. I couldn't even walk upstairs. I couldn't bend over and tie my shoes. Like
without our bellies getting in the way.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
So
anyways, like what I really noticed about myself that I didn't love is my belly. I felt like, again, growing up with very fit stomach all the time, I knew that my stomach had very strong core, but then turning to the side and looking like I'm 6-7 months pregnant. I think another thing for me was Drew and I were vacationing in Jamaica, and I was wearing a beautiful outfit that I actually loved, and I felt so confident in it. And we went to the restaurant, and literally the lady was like 8 months pregnant, expecting, and she asked me when I was expecting my baby.
Yeah.
And I broke down to tears because I was like, that is the most fucking hurtful thing that anyone's ever said to me. Don't ever say that to anyone, by the way. Even if they fucking look pregnant, just shut up. Mind your business.
Seriously.
But I have never asked anyone that because I know how hurtful that is to hear. And even after that trip, I still didn't feel terrible, but I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, do I actually look pregnant? I feel like the way I saw myself and the way people saw me were very different, but I knew I had gained a lot of weight. So that's when I joined like a HIIT kind of gym. And I told you, I'm like, I just need to.
Even before we get into that, I'm sorry not to cut off. I don't want to jump to the next chapter.
Me. Yeah, add it in if you.
Was there a point in time that food became an obsession because you were free to eat what you wanted? And when did you realize that it was that for you? Like, would you say that it was an addiction to it?
100%.
Like I'm not hungry, but I'm still going to eat, or I just 100%. Finished a big meal and now I want to do this. And even though you were at I would say, your most unhappy physically about yourself, right? So did you feel that?
Yeah, I would say that's a really good point. Like in my early years when I could eat whatever the hell I wanted, I would eat and eat and eat and eat. I'm not even joking. Sometimes I'd sit down on the table and I would out-eat my whole family and not think anything of it. But at the same time, like my mom was told to give me whatever I wanted. If I woke up in the morning, I wanted a McDonald's hamburger, my mom would go get it and bring it back. She was not taught to teach me healthy eating habits because it was like, she just needs to keep her weight on to stay healthy. And with the fact of like, anytime I got sick, I would lose that 25 to 30 pounds. They wanted me to be a little bit more heavier so that I had that cushion of weight that I could lose. But I was never heavy enough.
And also, I don't think that there was an expectation that modern medicine was going to get to where it is.
Exactly.
Today,
so they just wanted to, it was like survival mode, like keep her alive so she can have a comfortable life and she's not frail. They never assumed that Trikafta would be an option, that now I'm going to look at the other side of things. So there was really no education there on healthy eating. And I don't blame my mom for that. That's just what she's been told from the doctors. Now, obviously, with modern medicine, and not only that, the doctors are teaching more high protein, obviously to keep you fuller, longer, better calories, all that stuff. But that's not what my mom was taught growing up. That is also the reason I have diabetes, but I don't blame my mom for that. It's just what she was taught to teach me. Mm-hmm. So going into the Trikafta episode, I was literally just still eating the same shit. Like I was never taught to eat healthy. Whereas my kids, like Drew grew up where there was always fruit in the fridge and they loved fruit and all that. So my kids eat all that now. But if Drew wasn't in the picture, I would probably be feeding my kids the same shit. Yeah. It's just, I was never taught that. So I just ate whatever I wanted. Even now I have a really hard time. Like he's introduced me to a lot of like vegetables that I would have never touched, fruit that I would have never touched. But again, I didn't have that knowledge. Going through nursing school, definitely I was taught a lot about like healthy meal planning and stuff. But before that, I would have never. And so it's really hard to learn that when you've never been taught that.
And she might have made it sound like I'm a healthy eater, but to give you an idea, last night for my dinner, I had a full family-sized bag of Smart Food.
It's delicious.
And the large-sized bag of chocolate-covered almonds.
Yeah. We don't eat like healthy all the time, guys. No. Losing weight has been, in the beginning, we were very like, let's be strict with ourselves.
Yeah.
But I'm at a point now where I'm like, I still want to live my fucking life.
Yeah.
I want to enjoy it. I'm not going to cut anything. And I told him that from the beginning when we started working. I'm like, I still want to eat the things that I love, because otherwise this whole fitness journey to me is going to fall apart and I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
Because I know what my own like restrictions are, or I know what my own like breaking point is. Like I still need to have something in my life that I enjoy, or I'll fucking hate my life.
And before we go into, I would say, the last 2 years, I just want to quickly touch on me. And
let's make this all about you.
Let's make it all about me. So this will be the main focus. Obviously, when the thumbs up on YouTube happens because of this part. But
yeah.
When Karen and I were first together, not even first together, when I was like maybe 23, 24, that's when I started getting into working out. And I was probably I was at my like heaviest at the time. I was like 240-ish or whatever, very unhealthy, started working out. And body dysmorphia isn't just for women. There's a lot of men.
Or like heavy people.
It. And body dysmorphia isn't just for those people who are out of shape. It's for people who are in very good shape. It can be anybody, bodybuilders, right? And this is not a hit on anyone who's in the best shape of their life and they're unhappy, because it's very true.
It fucks with you, yeah.
But I remember I started working out. I started to lose weight, get lean.
Felt good.
But I only continued to work out because of vanity. I loved that when I walked into a room, I knew people knew I was in the gym. Right. So,
well, people would also comment on it, like, oh my God, you look so good. You look huge.
So, exactly. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to start with maybe taking some supplements. So then I would take pills and go down that, road. And for a few months I was doing that, and I could notice crazy changes in the gym. Yeah. So then I would go to,
you were cutting like huge,
the black market version of these pills where you can't get them from just any store. You have to get them from certain people.
Yeah.
And I was doing that. And I just really loved, people are looking at me, they're giving me attention. I would go into the gym and only try to lift the heaviest around when people were there. I didn't care even about being healthy at this point in time.
No.
And then
if you did, you wouldn't be taking them.
Exactly. And long story short, then I started taking steroids, yeah. And I did that for about 5 years off and on.
Can you say that on YouTube? Or
you can. Yeah, okay. It's educational, to be honest, right? And it's not
testosterone, no?
It was, testosterone. Yeah, exactly. So, which is slightly different than like TRT. If someone was to get on those type of supplements, it's performance enhancing. It's not something I would recommend for anyone to do. If you're going to do it, you better stay on it the rest of your life, because you will lose the results. And if you're not taking it 100% serious 100% of the time, then you are wasting your money. Yeah. You're wasting your time. But for me,
it's also a mind fuck.
That's exactly what it is for me. I was fortunate enough. Well, I guess we'll find out in 20 years if I have a heart attack.
Literally.
Or not, right? Like, who knows?
Well, that was the biggest thing when you were talking about taking it. I've only read, oh God, I keep hitting my mic.
That's okay.
I only read that it's not great for you. Like men take it all the time. I mean, obviously there's men who take it with the guidance of their physician, and it's, dosed with the guidance of their physician.
Just to bring their testosterone to the right levels that they should be
understandably. But then there's also men who take it outside of the doctor's recommendations, and now they're at the gym having heart attacks because their heart is a muscle, guys. Yeah. So if you're working out your muscles, trying to grow your muscles, your heart is also a muscle. It can get enlarged. Mm-hmm. Now you're having heart problems. That was my biggest fear for Drew because he is a very healthy male. And I was like, do you really want to go down the road of like causing issues with your heart if you don't have to? So that's kind of, we talked about it very, very in depth. And I was like, if you have done your research and feel comfortable with it and you feel like you're okay doing it, then do it. But if you start to have issues with your health,
you're going to stop.
You need to stop. I'm not okay with it anymore.
Which I didn't.
No,
right?
I had no issues.
I still have my hair. I'm 38 years old for now anyways. So I'm maybe not predisposed to that. I never ended up getting any type of acne or like, especially you see these guys, their shoulders and their backs are just braille, honestly. Like it's really, really
But
bad.
You said that's also get it if they're usually predisposed to it, like hair loss or...
And the way I would describe being on steroids is similar to alcohol. Those who are highly emotional, they end the night crying, right? If they're highly angry, they're going to be angry all the time. Roid rage.
Roid rage, yeah.
If they, are bound to lose their hair, it's going to accelerate that. And you can insert any other thing that they could be predisposed to. But so I did that for 4.5, 5 years. I eventually would go into the gym and I would sit down. I wouldn't work out. I actually start crying.
Yeah.
It was such a mental fuck. It was like, I couldn't even handle it. I would go home. I eventually canceled all my gym memberships and then I would sign back up and then I would go back in. And
it's like a mindfucker. Yeah. This whole thing is a mindfucker.
So bad. But then I decided, you know what? I'm going to quit the gym. And I'm like in the peak for me. At that time, I wish I would have been eating healthy and doing it. It could have been 10 times better. But,
but you were still in really great shape.
I was in great shape, yes, for the time. And I stopped doing it. Literally never took another injection, never took another supplement since then. Now that's been probably, okay, before I even jump into that, I canceled all my memberships, stopped taking everything, said I'm going to take 3 months off the gym. I took 5 years off the gym. I signed up a few times. I would go in, cancel, literally same day. I would sign up, pay their down payment fee or deposit, cancel same day. Oh, I lost my $50. Okay, I'm not going back. 5 years later, that's when you decided that you were going to go to like a HIIT.
Yeah, but in that 5 years, he has felt so free mentally.
Mentally free is
let go of like the idea of going to the gym every single day, having to get there. If you don't go there, you feel guilty. Like just so much shit.
Because I stopped, I came to the realization, actually what prompted it was, I remember I would take over a conversation with my friends. And it was always about working out. Now, they would be in the fitness world to a degree too. They would work out or wherever the case was.
But their interest wasn't steroids. So.
No, we could be talking about video games and I'd be like, oh, well, I just bench pressed 1 million pounds. It's like...
just meathead conversations.
Yeah. And then you realize that these guys would like look at you and just continue their conversation. And it actually took me 5 years to be like, no one cares that I'm doing... Oh, I just don't like to. No one cares that I'm doing this. Look at how much I can lift. Look what I can do. It was so all about vanity.
Like blindsided, like about...
You think you're the main character, right? And you walk into the gym and aside from the other guys who were wanting to do the same things or doing the same things, no one cares. No one cares at all what you're doing.
No.
So that was a big part of it too. Because I wasn't doing it for the right reasons. I don't think there is a right reason. I personally think, now this could create some hate, you have to be very unhappy with yourself to want to go to that extreme. Who are you competing against? Right? Like you're going in to do a bench press or a squat against who?
Yeah.
Yourself?
I think that was a big eye opener for, I don't know about you, but for us, like I'm not there to look at anybody else at the gym. I'm not there to even, I don't even care if you're fucking running 19 on the treadmill and I'm walking at 1.
Yeah.
I do not care.
Yeah.
I am there to do whatever I want to do. And I'm going to get in, get my workout and get the fuck out of there. Like, I don't care what anyone else is doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's you and I now at the gym.
Yeah. So took the time off. And then the reason I say 5 years is because it was a year or 2 years pre-COVID. Then at the time, everything closed, gyms you couldn't even go to. And I was kind of getting ready to go at this point. And I was around 240, very unhappy, but at the same time, I only thought about it maybe once every other month. It wasn't even something I cared too much about. And then you had like this eye-opener moment where you're like, damn, I got to do something.
Yeah.
And I still wasn't even ready.
I'm also not someone who commits and stays with any of that. Like, if it's hard, get me the fuck out of there. Yeah. Like, I'm not, if the very first day I went to the HIIT gym, I was like, this is fucking hard. I was like, I'm never going back. But I did go on a day where it was only cardio. And obviously my lungs hadn't worked out in
ever
20 years. Never.
And honestly, I know like you're saying HIIT gym. It is F45. It is worldwide gym. If anyone is if they're in the same position where we were,
to get you started.
If you don't have the knowledge and information on what to do,
or the willpower
and anything in a traditional gym, find a gym similar to F45.
Yeah, Orange Theory, F45.
I think those are closed now. Orange
Theory. No, they're open.
Okay.
Yeah. Tell my patients go there.
You got to sign up for the class. You got to hold yourself accountable. They're going to hold you accountable. They celebrate your wins. It is a good gym. So it's a good gym. You don't need to know anything. They're going to teach you everything. They're going to show you demonstrations about it.
No, I had no education.
Yep.
Did not know how to work out from my body. Did not know anything. And I felt really welcome there, even though I showed up my first class literally in like track pants and a track shirt or sweatshirt because I was just not comfortable with my body. And I actually thought I was going to show up and see everybody in like tight Lululemons and
super fit. So I felt, I knew I was going to. There are a few of those people out there, but it's all ages.
But that gym is also super welcoming. Some of the fittest people in the gym would come up to me and be like, welcome, like, I'm glad you're here. And I was like, at first class, I felt really uncomfortable, but the manager came to me and is like, if you want to try a more slow pace until you're ready, come back on Thursday. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll give it another try. And this was like free. I think you get like 2 weeks free or something. I don't know.
I think, 7 days or something.
Yeah.
But...
And then I went back on the Thursday and I was like hooked. I was like, this is amazing. It's slow pace. I'm slowly working myself back into it. If I didn't go to F45, I think I would have never went back to the gym. Right. Because going to a regular gym, I had no idea how to even start.
Yeah.
I was super intimidated by the gym atmosphere. So for me, just starting at F45 was great. So I kept up with that.
You did that for about a month.
Yeah, I did that for a month.
And for perspective, this is October. Yes? You started October.
November. You started December.
Okay, so November for you. 2023.
Yeah.
No, 2022.
Yeah, because we've been doing it for a year and a half now?
It'll be 2 years, November, that we've been on this journey of like getting healthier.
Yeah.
So then you're there for about a month.
Yeah.
You come home, you tell me, I think you're going to like it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't hey, you're fucking fat. Like you should be doing something.
No.
It wasn't.
But I knew if I loved it and like
this is something you could do. And like I was just saying.
And enjoy together.
There's people in there, you have to be 18. So 18, seen people in there who are like 75. Seen people in there who have never lifted a weight or done cardio their entire lives. There's all shapes and sizes. There's all ages in there. There's all personalities in there. You are not going to feel intimidated.
And again, they're so encouraging. Like I never felt out of place. I never felt like anybody was comparing themselves to me. I never felt like people were watching me work out. I felt like I was just doing my own thing and they encourage you to come back. I never felt so welcome at a place ever. And that's what wanted me to go back. I just felt like I was part of something.
Yes. And the trainers there, coaches as they go by, they're very corrective towards you, but in such a professional manner. They know.
And encouraging.
They're encouraging. They knew, like for me personally, after we'll say 6 months, when I was like really into the swing of things, I was already like, I'm good. I'm pushing myself. What I thought was 100%, but they could see the days it wasn't 100% for me, and they rode my ass. They're like, no, let's go. But then they would go to the person beside me and hold their hand and be very kind and
like literally me.
But it was.
But they knew what
knew
you
who
were.
They could talk to and how.
And that's what I like. They knew what Drew was capable of, so they're like, let's fucking go. I'm not letting you. Slack on this, but then they know that I'm also, and I was very clear about my health conditions because I was like, listen, there's gonna be days where you're gonna see me busting my ass, and there's gonna be days where I don't want to do it. I'm having trouble breathing today. Things are just not great. So the days that they tell me busting my ass, they come over and be like, you're doing really well. Let's go do better because I can know you can do better. And on the days where I'm really feeling like shit, they could catch the vibe and just be like, you're doing great today. If you're not up for it, just sit out. Like there was days where they'd be like, I would go sit on the bench because I was gassed, and they would come and be like, I don't really want you to sit down. Why don't you just walk the pace of the gym instead of pushing me back into working out? They're like, I can see that you're tired. Let's just get you to walk the gym instead of giving up. So I just really love that.
Yeah. It was really good.
Yeah. And we did that for actually, we did it for a while.
We did it for a year.
But let's talk about the whole journey thing. So I was working out heavily for 6 months.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole addiction comes into, because I can see where the whole body dysmorphia and like being obsessed with working out comes in, because it got to a point where I lost 30 pounds on my own. I'm going to get into the whole thing, but I lost 30 pounds on my own, and I was so encouraged and I was so excited and everything was just going fantastic. But then I plateaued, and I got to a point where I was working out twice a day because I wasn't losing any more weight. And I was like, what the fuck is happening?
You're becoming very obsessive. And we had even talked about this.
Yes. And I knew it was going to happen because I was so already confident in the fact that I lost 30 pounds and I could already see the changes in my body. I was so excited to continue this journey. So within 6 months, I lost 30 pounds with no help. I was doing it all on my own. And then I got to the point where I plateaued.
But even before that, I want you to talk about the obsessive or addictive part of the working out, or because I'll touch on it here. It would be go to the gym. They're like 40-minute workouts, and you burn your 400 to 600 calories depending on your intensity.
And I didn't feel like it was enough.
Come home, we would eat dinner, we do whatever, lay in bed, and she's like, I'm just gonna go downstairs for a second. Now we do have like a small home gym with a treadmill and other things, and then I would just hear the treadmill going. And I'd be like, hey, are you coming back upstairs? What's going on? Oh yeah, I'm just like almost trying to hide it as if I can't hear a treadmill.
Or even the fact that like if Drew and I that evening, I was like, ate a little bit of junk. I'm like, I need to go work this off. 200
calories of chocolate. I'm going to go burn 500 on the treadmill. It's like,
yeah, it was becoming an obsession.
It was an obsession.
And mainly I wasn't educated, right?
Talk about that.
Like it got to a point where I was going to talk about the idea of just even plateauing. Like I felt like I was plateauing. I wasn't losing any more weight, even though I thought I was still doing a lot. So I was like, you know what, if I just add an extra workout a day, that's going to be great. And then so I add an extra workout a day. And then I also felt like I needed to starve myself. Yes. So I was getting to a point where I was like, I can't eat more than 1,200 calories a day or 1,000 calories a day, even though I'd be laying in bed at night and be like, I am so fucking hungry. Like I need to eat. Yep. But I would not feed myself. And I would still go down on the treadmill and be like, I need to burn that extra 200 calories.
And during that time, we had changed our eating habits. Now forget what I said about eating a whole bag of popcorn and chocolate, because we've got to the point now where it's like, I'm going to eat what I want and I'm going to do what I can to stay healthy. That's obviously fast forwarding to now. Yeah. But going back to then, it was chicken and rice measured out to a degree of, okay, we know what this weighs. We know the calories. This is what we can have as a snack. This is what we need to bring for work. Oh, breakfast, I'm just going to have 2 oranges. I'm going to have a little bit of...
I would skip breakfast a lot of the time.
It was...
Keep hitting my mic.
But it was really good that we had an understanding of it, but we also became very obsessed with it.
Yeah. I would skip breakfast a lot of the times because if I had breakfast, that ruined my whole caloric intake for the day.
Calories for the day. Yeah.
And for me, and I feel like a lot of people, is I'm a night eater. I like to snack at night. So I felt like if I saved my calories, again, obsessive eating.
You can eat 800 at night.
If I saved my calories, I didn't eat lunch, I didn't eat breakfast. I'm at work starving. I didn't eat. And then I got home at night and I was like, I have 800 calories to fucking eat junk. Like I'm so excited. Yeah. So I would eat like absolute shit, but I had that 800 calories to just like binge on, right? So that was a big problem. And I recognized it, but I also wasn't willing to change it because I thought it's what was working for me. And then with plateauing, I also started to realize that like, and I'll talk about this later, and some of you guys I feel like are going to connect completely with the story, because food noise for me is huge. Like I could be eating my dinner and at the same time thinking about what I'm going to have later on tonight. And I always felt like I was thinking about the next thing, because even though the food in front of me was filling my belly, it was like, I just want to eat more. I want to eat everything that I could eat. So it was weird that for a little while I starved myself, but at the time of starving myself, I was eating about the 800 calories, thinking about the 800 calories I was going to eat later. The food noise never turned off. And that was a big issue for me, because I would always be hungry, even if I ate my 12 to 1,500 calories. Now, obviously I realize that is not healthy. I should be eating more than that. Yeah, it is a little low.
Especially when you're working out.
Yeah. But I'm saying like if with me working out, I would say like 1,800 calories is pretty norm. But I would still, if I matched my 1,800 calories for that day of working out, all I could think about is what I could eat next, what I can eat next. And that never turned off. And that was a huge struggle for me as well. Yeah. So there's so much going on with like trying to stay thin, starving myself, which is obviously not appropriate, but I was also uneducated. Yeah. I had no fitness information in my mind. I just thought that was the best way to do it.
And what you just said there is perfect, because I just wanted to say one thing. These numbers we're talking about, 1,200 calories, 15, 1,800, 2,000, 5,000, we're not educated in that field. So
no idea.
We are self-informed in terms, we hop on the internet and we just type in how many calories should I be having? That's what we go based on. So we're not dietitians, we're not nutritionists.
No,
this is
and
not
I have no
education
idea
for anyone else.
And that's why it didn't work for me, because I literally had no clue what to even feed my body, how to feed my body.
Yeah.
So all I really was doing was thinking that no food is good, because I'm not putting any food in my body to bring calories in to gain weight.
And now your body's in survival mode, so it's just storing fat.
Yeah, it's just storing fat. And I did read that if you don't eat, your body holds on to that because it doesn't know when your next meal is.
Exactly.
Whereas you hear people eating every 2 hours because now your body burns off that meal you just had, in knowing that in 2 hours
it can burn the reserves
food.
And hold on to the food that you just.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so there's just like, anyways. So as 6 months in or 7 months in, I started to plateau, and I was like really fucking disappointed. I was like, and these 2-day workouts was just like the biggest thing. When I started the workout, I told Drew, I was like, I need something that is sustainable.
Yeah.
I cannot work out twice a day, 6 days a week, 7 days a week for the rest of my life. I will fucking hate my life. And that is not the plan for any of this.
Yeah.
So when I started working out twice a day, I was getting really depressed. I was like, this fucking sucks. I hate my life.
If you miss one class,
I am like,
yep, I just wasted 2 months of working out because I missed one.
It fucked with me so hard. And I was just like, every day I was like, if I don't get that second workout in, I'm going to gain weight again. And this sucks. I hate it. So I got to a point where it was no longer sustainable. I was trying so hard just to lose that extra 5 pounds, not to mention fucking with myself by stepping on the scale. I was stepping on the scale every day. And if weight went up, I was like, this is stupid.
I still check the scale every day.
We do now, but I feel like it's more.
I just always have done that. Like, even when I wasn't working out, I just always check the scale.
Yes, but I also feel like we're in a more healthier mindset. Like, if I wake up now and I step on the scale and I'm like 5 pounds up, I'm like, fuck, I ate like shit this week. So that's all water weight.
And like water weight, all this. Yeah, exactly.
And then I know to not beat myself up about it, because I'm like, well, it'll go away.
You'll have one of the biggest dumps of your life.
Literally, if I step on the fucking scale and I'm like 5 pounds up, I'm like, I just gotta take a big shit. I'm good. Literally, right? And then I take a big shit, I'm good.
It's so true.
So true.
So speaking of the like plateau and whatnot, I actually wanted to touch on one thing. If anyone is going through a fitness journey of their own, or diet, or whatever lifestyle change that they're making, and they have a number in mind, there's a lot of online platforms, especially like social medias like Instagram, TikTok, whatever.
Stay off of it.
And there's these, fitness influencers who are telling you you're going to lose 2 pounds a week, or what. That number might work, honestly, if you're about 400 pounds and you're going to lose the 3-4 pounds a week for
because you're just a heavier individual.
You have more to lose than someone who's 100 pounds. Look at it in a much larger scale. If there's 52 weeks in the year and you lose half a pound a week, if I told you right now, hey, I can promise you half a pound a week, you would not even start doing it.
This is bullshit.
That's not worth it. That's, a whole month to lose 2 pounds. Yeah, well, what if I told you 26 pounds in a year?
Yeah, it's huge.
Now take that number, right? It's a big number, and that's kind of when I realized, I'm like, okay, this fluctuation, I don't care. Fine, I gained 5 now, but I'm net -2, right? Like
that's a big one too. And I would say like that was big for me, because I was like, and I feel like everyone else is like this. I go to the gym for 30 days. I'm like, I should be fucking losing weight by now. Like, I want it to happen yesterday. I don't want to put in the work, or I want to go to the gym and do an ab workout, go home, lift my shirt up, and there's a fucking 6-pack.
Exactly,
I realize now that where I'm at, I didn't realize it would take so long to get there. But of course, I'm happy that I'm here. It's just, it took so long. So let's talk about the big elephant in the room, because I feel like everyone's fucking asking me about.
Okay. Sure, let's talk about me. Go on.
So the big elephant in the room, because everyone is asking me about it. Sorry.
Yeah.
When I plateaued, I went to see my doctor, because this is when Ozempic became big, and I was like, fuck, I would love to try that. So I went to my doctor, and my doctor absolutely refused me to go on Ozempic. He's like, absolutely not. Go to the gym. He was a dude, of course. I'll get to that, but he was a male. And if you guys do the research, men do have a much easier time losing weight than women.
Sure.
Obviously, there is hormone things that men deal with as well, but women are more at risk for weight gain due to hormone fluctuations, insulin resistance, PCOS, all of those things.
But we'll say this. Guys without any type of conditions.
Yes, that's what I was saying. Healthy males will lose weight so much more easy than a woman who is, and a lot more women deal with hormone issues than men.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
women usually deal with, like I said, hormone imbalance, PCOS, insulin resistance. That is so much more common for women. So if you are dealing with any of those things and you're gaining weight or trying to lose weight, go see your family doctor or see a specialist, because you, and I've said this to Drew a million times, can work out till you're fucking blue in the face. You will not lose a weight if your body is working against you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I went to the doctor
and
Ozempic
found, may not be the answer for everyone. It's not for everyone. But yeah, there could be something else going on.
So with the diabetes, I told you guys how I got diagnosed with diabetes when I was 16. I have never in my life had my diabetes under control. I actually have big scars on my legs from not having my diabetes under control. I have had some complications. It is the hardest fucking thing I've ever dealt with in my life to get a perfect number every single day. I was always riding in the highs, which is not great for you. It can cause blindness. It can cause other complications. It can cause ulcerations, like big cuts on your legs that never heal. It can cause nerve issues. There's so many complications. Luckily, I've not had any of those, but my blood sugars have never been under control. So I went to my endocrinologist, which is a specialist for diabetes or hormone issues, and I asked him to try Ozempic, and he said, absolutely not, just lose the weight. And again, he is a male, so he probably just assumed, oh, you can just fucking work out.
This guy also said he refused basically everyone because he didn't agree with it, doesn't believe in it.
He refused all of his patients, So he never gave any of his patients Ozempic because he just didn't agree with the medication.
So him being a dude isn't necessarily, it's just him being ignorant.
Yeah. And that's why I said dude too. But anyways, I don't hate men. I'm just saying. And then so I kind of dropped him. I was like, you know what? I really do want to try the Ozempic. If you're not willing to give it to me, then I'm just going to look for a new endocrinologist. So I reached out to my diabetes clinic and I was like, can I have a referral for a female endocrinologist? And again, I was just being ignorant to the fact that he's a dude. He's not going to give it to me. But I wanted to try a female because I was like, maybe she would have a better understanding of the things that I'm going through. I already knew I was severely insulin resistant. I had been diabetic since I was 16. Could have been longer, but that's when we kind of figured it out. I knew I was insulin resistant. And the fact that I plateaued made me think even more into it. Maybe my hormones were out of control. I need a full physical assessment, just see what's going on. So I went to this new doctor and she was like, why don't we try the Ozempic for a couple months and see if it changes your blood sugars. Not to mention, if your blood sugars are really high all the time, working out is pointless. Like you're just going to reserve all that sugar. Nothing's going to change. And that's it. Yeah. So I was still working out, trying to, again, twice a day, obsessively trying to make everything change. Nothing was changing. Throughout the day. It's usually for those who don't require insulin. Your body produces some of it. And the metformin just kind of supplements that extra. I don't know exactly what it does, but it supplements kind of the extra controlled blood sugars that you need. So I went on that drug last month. As soon as I went on that drug, I noticed a rapid increase in my weight loss. I think I lost almost.
Just gonna move your hair off.
Yeah. I noticed I lost almost 10 or 15 pounds in 1 month. No, maybe not that much. Maybe 7 to 10. Maybe. And I didn't like that. I did not realize that metformin was going to cause more weight loss. I wanted this to be a slow process. And
then you also didn't want to eat. Like you weren't.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that. The doctor just said it was going to be a really amazing. What she said to me is I was taking insulin 6 to 8 times a day to control my blood sugar. And she said to me, she's like, once you go on this metformin, she's like, you're going to take it twice a day and you're maybe going to have to take 1 injection a day. That's amazing to me. Yeah. I was like, that is so awesome. I'm not going to have to poke myself 7 times a day. And once a day is perfect. And I just coast with a regular blood sugar like most people. Mm-hmm. And once I started taking it, the amount of nausea, Ozempic never gave me any nausea, but this gave me so much nausea. Just at the very start. Yes. And I was like vomiting. If I would have like a full meal, like I think the other week I had like 2 burgers, puked it all up. It made me so sick that I noticed a ton of rapid weight loss. And again, I didn't like it. So that is why I'm trying to work myself off the Ozempic now, because I don't want any more weight loss. I feel like I'm at my goal weight. The only thing I am concerned about is the blood sugar control. If I go off and my blood sugars are no longer under control, I am going to go back on the lowest dose of Ozempic, not for weight loss purposes. And the doctor truly didn't give me the Ozempic for weight loss. She gave it to me for blood sugar control. It just so happened to be that I'm in a weight loss kind of journey that it helped my situation. Mm-hmm. Now, let's talk about Ozempic. You can't just go on Ozempic and lose weight without changing your life.
And you cannot. You can't just take it and all of a sudden, become this muscle type of guy.
Now, don't get me wrong. If you are, as Drew mentioned, very, very obese, of course you're going to lose weight. the amount of food that you cut back on when you're on Ozempic is huge. Yeah. Not to mention, if you are obese or someone that deals with food addiction issues, like myself, I'm going to say it, the food noise is no longer there. Ozempic got rid of food noise for me completely. I don't think about it. I don't think about my next meal. I think about in the moment what I'm eating. Yeah. Now, what Ozempic did teach me is the fact that when I'm feeding my body, because I don't feed my body as often as I used to, again, overeating, all of my meals are planned with the idea of nutrition in mind. Mm-hmm. So when we're eating, I'm like, I need to add protein because I might not eat another crazy huge meal today. Yeah. Let's make this one a good one. Yeah. Whereas previously I'd be like, let me eat all this shit. Yeah. And who gives a fuck what happens later?
Yeah, now we're definitely.
But now I'm like,
carb,
what protein. Would you call it? Like intuition? I don't know. There's a name for it. Intuitively eating? I don't know. But it's like making sure that what you're eating is actually healthy for you instead of just eating all the shit you possibly can. Yeah. So I feel like we've made decisions. Now, will I go back to an unhealthy eating lifestyle? Probably not.
Honestly, I don't even think about it. Want it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Every night before bed when we were eating unhealthy, I would literally lay in bed and be like, I really want some chocolate right now.
Yeah, we would.
For no fucking reason.
We would find a 24-hour store if we had to.
Yeah.
Literally.
We would leave our house at 10, 11 at night, go out, buy a bunch of shit, chips, chocolate bars, whatever, go home, and we would finish all of that off and then go to sleep for the night.
Easily that night, we would finish it off, like $40 a day.
Yeah, and for someone who's diabetic, like I would wake up feeling like absolute shit. Another thing I gotta tell you guys is with my arthritis, I would have constant leg flaring or like joint issues. Mm-hmm. And if I now look back, it's because of all the fucking shit I was eating. I was eating so much sugar. It's causing so much inflammation. And in the first 6 months of me working out and kind of trying to cut a lot of that shit out, mm-hmm. I was like, had a light bulb moment. I was like, no wonder I was always in pain. My body was constantly inflamed. And I never really knew that until I cut a lot of this shit out of my diet. And I was like, holy fuck, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So that is kind of how we got to where we are today. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm still working out. We're still working out 4 days a week, but I'm no longer obsessed with it. And that's another thing that Ozempic has kind of helped me with. It helped me in the moment with like all of these issues that I was having in terms of being obsessed with food.
And now it's just a lifestyle.
Yeah.
I just know that in my day, it's going to probably be a gym session or go for a run, or there's going to be something in there. Eating less. Yeah, it was actually crazy, especially at the start, and you can attest to this too. I would, let's go for a walk. No, I don't want to go for a walk. Let's go do this. There's a chance that we could even together, like I've never even seen Carrie run before. I'm kind of like all over the place right now, but I'd never even seen her run ever.
Well, seriously. I wouldn't because I couldn't breathe.
I know, but I actually couldn't see it. So now we'll be at the gym and I'm on the treadmill. And she's normally watching the show while she's doing her thing, but I'll look over and she's running like 7 miles per hour, and I'm just doing what am I looking at right now? But what's crazy about that is if I go back to before the gym and I would say to you, well, let's just go run 100 meters. Absolutely not. Now there's a possibility. Who knows? It could be in 5 years from now. We could run a 5K together. Mm-hmm. We don't even know. It's actually insane to think.
That's another thing too. Is like, how did you feel when you saw like? I was not doing, like, I didn't even exercise, guys. And that's why the doctor was like, at that point when I was really unhealthy, she's like, what do you want to try? Mm-hmm. Because you're not doing all the things, right? And with Drew, like, how did you feel when you watched me? I got to a point where I was even like cleaning the house a little.
I noticed.
So I never did. And that kind of goes to our relationship. Like, I was so ill all the time before all of this changes that I didn't do housework. I didn't do laundry. I couldn't even pick up a fucking laundry basket to bring it upstairs. Mopping would get me out of breath. Like, I couldn't do any of those things. And as soon as I started taking Trikafta, like I was standing at the kitchen sink. Like standing at the kitchen sink would literally make me out of breath. Like I couldn't stand up. If you guys know people with respiratory disease, a lot of the time when they're out of breath, they'll sit in kind of like a triangle position. That was me 24/7. I could not do anything. So when after the Trikafta, I was like getting to a point where I was like, oh, I'm going to do the laundry. I just felt so free from being caught up in this like life of never wanting to do anything, no energy, no nothing, to like actually wanting to participate in our relationship because I now had the energy to do so.
Well, honestly, this is going to be a little deeper of an answer. If for me, okay, I'll start with this. If you were to research the life expectancy of someone with CF, now when we first got together and we're like 20 years old, there was a very real possibility that 25, 26, 27 years old would be the end of time for you, right?
And that's why we started having kids young as well.
And if you go back to hearing, like, I was like,
episode
okay,
one,
like, yeah, fine. So every year has been a big celebration for us for her in particular, because she's still here. Yeah. And it's insane, but fitness and health has a big part of that in modern medicine. But so for me, I lived with this constant idea of tomorrow I could be by myself. And I'm like, it's true. We've talked about like so many times.
And it's scary to think like the person that you are, like at the point where I was really unwell, like you could literally watch me. I was wasting away.
Right. Like, we got like 4-year-old kids, 5-year-old kids. And I'm like,
you're panicking. You're trying
screwed.
to
like forget anything to do with finances or anything. It's like, I am now going to be
a widowed dad
alone. Yeah. Right. Like that's kind of how I felt.
And with 3 young kids, you now have to explain that they no longer have a mom. Like, it's crazy.
I never felt like a caregiver ever.
No.
And I know that can be a big thing with people. I think.
But I also didn't ever want you to feel that way. Like, if you guys met me when I was unwell, I was like fucking chugging along. Like, there was nothing that could stop me until that 1 year that I was like
down and out. Yeah.
Sleeping.
But I do think that moment of like feeling like a caregiver, I think, I've never lived it, so I don't know, is we're 40 years old. Now you become ill. And we change from a lifestyle of being independent to I now have to take on extra responsibilities, or for me. So you might have that caregiver mentality. I never had that feeling. I never felt like I had to take care of you. I knew from the beginning what I was willing to put into it. And I just always felt, and we mentioned this before, is a relationship is not 50-50. I hate hearing that. It's 100-100. If you're not giving your 100, I don't need you there. Yeah. I'm not giving my 100. You don't need me there. Yeah. So I always gave my 100, but I did always in the back of my mind, I couldn't sleep at night.
But you also gave extra because I couldn't give all the extra.
But that's my 100%.
Yeah.
You were still giving your 100%.
Yeah. That's all I could provide.
That's what you could provide. Yeah. And so I would be there at night. Literally, lights would go out. And the moment the lights went out, I would go, I'm going to be by myself tomorrow. Yeah. And I could not sleep. Yeah. And I would
It's a crazy feeling because I didn't see it from that point. I just thought, oh, I'm doing fine. Like, I'm great. You know?
So long story short, gets healthy because, modern medicine and working out and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it was like you see, those Instagram videos where it's like all the noise that's happening in your head. And then all of a sudden they do something and then the noise is gone. And they're like, this is my happy place. Yeah. That happened literally the one day we were in the driveway and you're like, oh, I forgot my jacket. My instinct is, okay, I'll get out of the car and go get this guy, right?
Goddamn jacket.
Go get this goddamn jacket. And she got out of the car and ran into the house. Now, it was turtle pace, but it was...
And I'm surprised I didn't trip and fall.
Didn't trip and fall. Yeah, that's a whole episode on her own, is clumsiness. But ran in, grabbed your jacket, and that noise stopped. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. It completely stopped. I have not thought about it in 3 years or whatever, 3-4 years, whatever the case is. I have goosebumps right now, actually thinking about it seriously. It like my whole body is.
I can see it.
Covered.
Yeah.
It's amazing. If you go back to what I said, being 27 years old is a life expectancy. 37 years old now, it's soon to be 38, and
damn, bro.
there's no like end in sight, which is incredible. Yeah. Like unbelievable. So,
and even to talk about that situation is like, even when Drew and I were like having kids and stuff, he wanted to plan a retirement. I didn't up until probably last year. I didn't talk about retirement at all. I was like, let's plan for your retirement and not mine. I can't touch my mic. No. I never wanted to put money away. I was like, let's spend everything we possibly have because I didn't think that I was going to live long. I was like, let's just fucking spend it.
And now I'm like, hey, should I go buy a piece of gum? She's like, retirement. Retirement.
But yes, I'm more willing, like, even up until probably 2 years ago, I didn't even get life insurance. Like, I was like, fuck it. I couldn't get it, but I'm saying, like, up until this trikafta became a huge part of the CF world, life insurance companies were not approving people for life insurance with CF. It was like an automatic decline, which we talked about in the first episode. I never tried for any of that. We never tried to like plan for the future. Even talking about the future, I was like, well, I don't really care because I'm not going to be there. Right. So it was never really, but now I'm like thinking like, what about when we turn 65? When do we want to retire? All of those conversations are coming up now because I'm much more healthier.
Yeah. And
I see it, I feel it. It's just a whole huge thing.
Huge. And
yeah.
Like I was saying, I don't even think about, the end of time. And
no.
it doesn't even cross my mind. I'm so much more mentally free to focus on doing other things and putting that energy into other stuff. It's actually so crazy.
Yeah.
But for anyone who thinks I can't do something, like this is not just because I'm married to her, this is a huge story and it's a big win. Like there's so many hurdles in front of everybody. You got to be willing to try to jump them. You have to find a way to push through it.
Yeah.
You really have to dig deep, and that's what you've done forever. And it's just so amazing. So anyone who is wanting to start a journey, if it's today, it's tomorrow, it's a year from now, you don't owe anyone anything.
And it also starts with little movements. You don't have to go to F45 day one and go fucking ham. Like it starts with like, I'm just going to take a walk around the block. I'm just going to do something. And remember, like I said to Drew, like it has to be sustainable. If you're pushing yourself to the absolute brim and you hate your life and you're never going to sustain that.
Yeah.
I'm at a point now where I actually like going to the gym 3 to 4 days a week, but that's 6 to 7 days, twice a day. It's fucking unsustainable.
Yeah.
I hated it. I hated my life at that moment in time. And now I'm going 3 to 4 days a week, maybe even 5. It depends on where we're at. And I enjoy it. I'm still eating some of the things that I really, really enjoy. And I don't think about weight loss at this point.
No.
Another thing I want to talk about is the Ozempic thing. Is a lot of the times people hear Ozempic and they automatically assume that, oh, you're just cheating. You're just doing that so that you can lose weight. It's an easy way out. And I want to tell you, 1, mind your own fucking business. 2, right?
Seriously.
1, mind your own business. People are doing what they need to do for themselves. 2, Ozempic is a preventative medicine. As much as people fight, oh my God, the amount of fucking conversations I've seen on TikTok
from
that
uneducated
people, or, sometimes bodybuilders, meatheads, nothing against them, but obviously
it generally comes from those who are already in
really good shape and they've worked really hard to get there. And I respect that. But there is also people that deal with, as I mentioned, hormone issues, PCOS, just issues with food in general, food addiction, and obesity is a killer disease. If you are really, really heavy and, obesity, what people don't realize also leads to heart attack, strokes, diabetes, kidney disease, every sort of disease you can possibly think of can stem from obesity. So if you can get rid of that obesity with a simple help with Ozempic and exercise, why not?
Yeah.
Why not go into those kidney disease, strokes, heart attacks? Why diabetes, all that? Why not avoid those things from happening just by getting the help from Ozempic that you need instead of trying so fucking hard to lose weight and not reaching your goals because you're too stubborn to take Ozempic?
And then the funny thing about people like that is
it pisses me off, to be honest with you, because it's so fucking ignorant.
How many supplements are a lot of these people taking, regardless of what it is? And then if you were to ask them, hey, do you take steroids? Be like, oh, are you kidding me? I'm fully natural. Of course you are, right?
Yeah.
Because are they the stigma?
And again, we
don't
have anything against steroids. That's why I said mind your own business, because everybody has to do what's best for them to do. When my doctor offered me Ozempic, I was already on board. I knew that's what I wanted because I was struggling with my blood sugars, hormones, all the things above. And I was like, I'm already stressing the shit out of myself to try to make this happen. And I'm just going to try Ozempic. Who knows if it was even going to work for me?
Yeah.
But it did. And I feel the best I've ever felt in my life. I have no food noise. I feel so incredibly confident in my body. That alone is freeing. Yeah. And I just feel good. Every single day I wake up, I feel on top of the world with my body image as well as my mental health.
Yeah, so for me, pushing Ozempic, this is just pushing change.
But it's also a conversation I had with a patient the other day. She literally said, I have major weight issues and I literally want to get Ozempic. And I said, go for it. There's so much stigma associated with Ozempic that people think that if they take it, they can't talk about it, they can't whatever. And I say horseshit. Like if you feel like that's what's best for you, go for it. Or at the very least, talk to your doctor about it.
When I stopped caring about the opinion of others who are not like really close to me, I have probably, excluding like you, my mom, your parents, whatever, like I'm talking people who are close to me, I have 3 people who I would trust my entire life with.
Yeah.
If they were to give me an opinion on something, I would listen to it. Doesn't mean I'm going to do anything with it.
Yeah, still take into account what they're saying.
Literally every other person on the planet, in one ear, out the other. I don't give a shit what you have to say about what I'm doing, about what I'm wearing, about where I'm going, about what I'm doing with my money, I don't care. I couldn't care. I'm going to smile. Absolutely. Completely agree with you. Gone.
Literally.
Don't care. Stop caring a long time
ago. And that's
my
biggest thing is I was really hesitant to this episode because I didn't want the idea of me going on Ozempic. And I was telling Drew about it. I said, I'm really nervous to do this episode because I worked really hard to get rid of that 30 pounds. And I still continue to work to shed that extra 5 to 10, 15, whatever I've lost so far. Yeah. I feel so good. And I was nervous that because there's such a bad stigma associated with those. I mean, people just think like, oh, you took it to cheat. No, that you actually cannot cheat. You still need a very healthy lifestyle.
Cheating? What are you cheating? It's the whole same thing with steroids too.
Yeah.
I'm only competing against myself. If I want to take it and I want to become bigger, faster, stronger, I want to be able to like metabolize things quicker. Yes. Fine, I'm gonna roid up. So what? That's my business. I'm allowed to do it.
And that's why I said mind your own, right? Another thing too is like if you're looking at someone who uses Ozempic, now don't get me wrong, I see that there is obviously some people that probably abuse it, that shouldn't be using it, but at the same time, like if you are using it in the proper ways, all the power to you. Yeah. But at the same time, if you're judging someone for getting their lifestyle on track,
you better be fucking perfect.
You better be perfect. And not only that, like there is obviously a bigger issue with yourself than the person you're looking at and judging. Like if you're judging someone for getting their life healthy and they've decided to take Ozempic to do that, that's on you. That's not on them. They're obviously...
The negativity that people are spewing out with this verbal diarrhea that they have, it stems from them wanting to feel better about themselves.
Yeah.
Cool. You win. You guys, if this is you and right now in your head you're like, oh, they just cheated. You win. You're right. We cheated, guys. We cheated.
Or just fuck off. That's
won.
it.
You already won. Now we're going to move on with our day and hopefully you move on with yours. But
that's it.
That's it. Like that's the whole reality.
So before we end the episode, I think the biggest thing to take from all of this is do whatever is best for you. Yeah. We don't recommend Ozempic. We recommend speaking to your doctor. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you what's best for you. If you have questions about Ozempic, I'm happy to answer them, but I can't recommend it. Like I said, the patient who told me they were looking to do it, I just said, go for it. If you think it's what's best for you and you're struggling to lose weight, go for it, right? The doctor obviously gave her the prescription and already thought she was a good candidate. I did not recommend it. I just think you have to talk to your family doctor and see what's best. And if your family doctor is not giving you the options that you're hoping for, get a second opinion. Yeah. That's okay as well.
And if you don't want to start your journey today, that's fine. There's always tomorrow, but you know, it's either day one or one day. Make today day one.
Yeah.
Everyone can benefit from doing something.
Yes. And it's not even about the cosmetic appeal of your body. It's just for health. Even with the weight I am now, like as I mentioned, guys, I'm 5'3", 5'4", say. I'm around 145 right now, which is a healthy weight and height for me. So for me, I'm happy at this weight. I don't want to lose any more weight. Thin was not what I was going for. I'm going for like healthy, strong. Yeah. Now I'm trying to work out at the gym with intention of like building my muscle. I want to build my core back. I want to build my muscle. I want to be strong because even with health diseases or even with diseases like respiratory disease or the diabetes, there is also other complications that come with that, like bone density issues, which can only really be solved with building muscle strength, building your bone strength, taking supplements, doing all that. So those are the things I'm focusing on now. Keeping my lungs healthy by doing cardio at the gym. All of those are my main focus now because my weight is no longer a focus for me. So now it's just health.
Yeah, and one last thing.
Skinny is not always the answer. It's just get healthy for yourself in whatever means that is. Yeah. Right?
There's a lot of hate that go towards the other end, towards people who are in really good shape and who only eat healthy and meal prep and you know their whole personality and
that's what works for them.
It works for them. Leave them be. Who cares? That's what they want to do. Let them do it. Same with the people who don't want to do any of that and are content.
Who fucking cares?
Fine.
Yeah.
Be like that.
Who cares?
At the end of the day, find your balance. That's really it.
Yeah.
We found ours, and it's been the best thing. You know, 38 years old, and I've never been
happier,
more mentally
healthier.
Free. Now, this is obviously like our entire life, not fitness. I'm saying that's created that mental well-being.
Yeah.
But we have 3 13-year-olds. They are highly active. It's probably 2-3
because of you. You do a lot with them.
We live by their school. We're there. we're, running track, we're playing soccer or baseball, you name it, we're doing it. And I'm just as active and they have to keep up with me because I've maintained
Your
this
health.
lifestyle and health for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the goal for me is I want to be here to do the same thing with their kids.
Yeah.
That's it. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
So anything you want to add for the end of this?
No, I think if you, like I said, if you guys have questions about Ozempic, I'm happy to answer them. But at the end of the day, it is a discussion to have with your doctor.
Yeah.
I'm not recommending it for anybody. I think it's whatever makes you happy. If meal prepping and working out 7 days a week is for you, then it's for you. But for me, this is what works best. And obviously, I have maintained what I think is better health now than I've ever been in my life. And obviously, modern medicine, as Drew mentioned, is also helped kind of me push myself towards that. And I think this is something that him and I will keep up with for a long time coming because, again, I want to live a long life. I want to be around for my kids. My kids are 13 and they're getting to a point where they're also interested in going to the gym, and I want to model those healthy behaviors for them as well. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah. 3rd episode. It was long overdue. People were reaching out.
Asking about my weight loss.
Which is
really lastly, great. We should say there's no miracle. There is no miracle. You need to put in the work. And, someone messaged me the other day and was like, I need to know your secret to working out. There is no fucking secret, guys. Like,
time,
that's
energy,
it. Time.
Focus.
And I started exactly like everyone else, like, what fuck? Like, let's work out one day and next day I'm skinny. Like, you know what I mean? But that's not my goal anymore. And there's really no magic to it. It's just, you got to start doing little tiny things, and those tiny things turn into big things, and then you notice the changes, and it's not going to happen overnight. But I am very pleased with how things are going. Yeah. But if you guys have questions, let us know. Obviously, we're happy to answer them. Where we're at now is not going to work for everybody, but I think it's worked for us, and that's kind of been our journey. And yeah, so
that's it. We'll try to make the next one not so far out.
Yeah. We'll try. It's hard. It's busy.
Yeah. So that's it.
Talk to you soon.
See you later.